Outstanding!
There are two things in life that are certain, and that is death and taxes. And in this edition of Arpin's International Insights, we are going to deal with the later, taxes. Particularly taxes related to expats and what they need to know when filing and living abroad, as we are joined by international tax expert, CEO of the company 1040Abroad, and author of Amazon's best-selling book, US Taxes for Worldly Americans, Mr. Olivier Wagner. That's all coming up next, right here on Arpin's International Insights. Olivier, welcome to Arpin's International Insights.
Thank you.
We're so looking forward to this important interview series with you that will be taking a look at expats and some of the things they should be aware of when it comes to their tax situation. So, Olivier, can you tell us more about your company, 1040Abroad, how it got its name, what services it supplies, and who is it available to?
Right. I started in 2012. Before that, I was working at Moody's credit rating agency in New York. And I wanted to be my own boss, be able to work from anywhere. And I saw this opportunity that was well aligned with my skill set to serve Americans who live overseas, because Americans are subject to taxation with the US regardless of where they live. And chances are that they don't have a local US tax preparer. So it made sense for them to work remotely for that. Again, we're talking about 2012, and the idea of working remotely was not as widespread or as understood as it was a couple of years ago, and definitely was not what it is now after COVID. So yes, I'm serving Americans who live overseas. They are mostly in Canada, Western Europe, Australia, and New Zealand. I also serve US citizens who might have been born overseas. They might have a parent who was a US citizen themselves and transmitted US citizenship to them. But yeah, mostly US citizens who move overseas, and I can prepare tax returns for foreigners who conduct business in the US, but I don't I prepare Canadian tax returns as well for sake of completeness, but I don't prepare tax returns for other countries.
Okay. And where are your offices located?
I'm in Toronto. I'm using an address where I used to be based off downtown and University Avenue. Since COVID, I found an office closer to home, but that's Toronto. Toronto has been my home since 2018.
Okay, and can we get back again on your background in tax preparation and how actually you got started and where you gained your experience?
Right, I just created 1040Abroad in 2012. I became an enrolled agent at that time, which was a fairly easy enough process. Well, it required more or less the same tax knowledge as the one required to become a CPA. It didn't require to go through the same hoops and have the same work experience. I did that in 2014. I became a CPA with New Hampshire in 2014. And yeah, and a lot of continuing education, either formal CPA hours or research on my own.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so are your certificates and licenses valid and approved in each country that your clients are moving to? Do you have to have one different for each country, or you just need to have one for the whole globe?
Right. As I prepare US tax returns, I am licensed before the IRS, directly by the IRS in the case of the annual agent designation, and they recognize the CPA designation given by the Board of Accountancy of New Hampshire. Right. To go back to your question, I'm licensed in the US because I file US tax returns. I'm not in contact with the tax authorities of, say, France or Germany.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And I think that this question will be interesting for people who are just deciding where to move to. So where do you see the majority of your clients moving to? Is there one particular country or region of the world that you see people are going to, from your experience?
When my clients are regular expats, they created a new life in their own country. They are mostly based in Canada and then Western Europe and then Australia and New Zealand. Of course, I have one client in Kenya. I have a few clients in Latin America every now and then, but they represent maybe 5% of my clients.
Okay, so when it comes to filing taxes in the calendar year, is it the same for everyone? And how do you and your staff at 1040Abroad manage the different filing dates?
We prepare the returns within 2 weeks after receiving the information. So as long as the clients provide us the information 2 weeks before, we will have the return on time. The American overseas gets a 2-month extension to June 15. I sometimes refer to it as an automatic extension because they get it by virtue of living overseas on April 15. They don't need to file a form for that. And then there's an automatic extension to October 15, whereby they need to file a form to request it. But if the IRS doesn't respond, which they seldom do, it's approved to October 15. And then there's other extensions which are more involving. But yes, October 15 gives us 10 months after year ends to file our tax return. In most cases, it should be sufficient.
Yeah, so October 15th.
You need to get an extension for that. So you will need to file the extension before June 15th. So if anybody is listening to us now and they wouldn't be able to file their return by June 15, they should contact me before June 15 and I'll file an extension for free to October 15. If you come up in July and say, hey, what was the deadline? Like, well, that was June 15. We could have applied for an extension, but it's too late now. I mean, we're in February, hopefully people still have a lot of time, but that's the situation I come across from time to time.
For those who are watching us and taking notes, this will be important. So make sure you don't miss it. This is for our audience. Freedom seems to have the greatest impact on our inspirations and breakthrough moments in life. In Olivier's case, making a shift towards more freedom and workplace independence turned out like a great work-life success story. Today, we also learned that if you are an American who live abroad, you must file a US federal tax return and pay US taxes on your worldwide income no matter where you live at that time. Knowing that, it is crucial to remember important dates for filing taxes, extensions, and preparing documentation. This may sound complicated, but having by your side a highly experienced tax expert will definitely make the process an easier ride. Stay with us because in part 2 of our 4-part series with Olivier Wagner, he'll share with us taxation insights from specific countries for expat and non-expat deductions and much more. This has been Jelena Stojanovic for Arpin's International Insights, the micro-series that's always moving for you.